As realtors, we help our clients with all sorts of matters, including how to find available resources that may assist with the down payment. We are proud to announce that Down Payment Resource is now available on HAR.com. This will allow consumers to find out if they meet the criteria for any of the 70 different assistance programs available in the greater Houston region. Some programs are income-based, but many allow higher incomes than you may think. There are also programs specific for people in certain professions, such as police officers, firefighters, teachers, healthcare workers, and others. About 89% of all listings for sale in Houston qualify for some sort of down payment. To find out more, you may visit www.har.com/down payment and work with your realtor to make sure you have everything you need to be able to purchase the home of your dreams.
This is Bill Baldwin of Boulevard Realty. Hurricane season starts June 1 and runs through November 30th. This is a reminder of the importance of having flood insurance both as a homeowner and as a renter. Every property should be covered by flood insurance. Historically, 40% of all flood insurance claims are for properties outside the high-risk areas. Flood insurance policies have a 30-day waiting period before they go into effect. Typical homeowner insurance and rental insurance will not cover flood damage caused by rising water. It's also good to know existing flood policies can only increase up to 18% per year and can often be assumed by new owners if selling or buying. However, if the policies lapse, you are often subject to significantly higher premiums. In summary, flooding in Houston and Harris County is very common. Be prepared.
Good afternoon and welcome to HAR Community Conversations. I'm Christina Schaefer, HAR's Director of Social Media and Sponsorships. We are here with Community Conversations every month, having the conversations that matter the most to Houstonians. And today we're talking about something many of you might be thinking about right now, buying or selling a home in 2026. What does this year's market look like? Is it a good time to buy, a good time to sell? And how should you prepare before making a move? To break it all down, I'm joined by our 2026 HAR Chair, Theresa Hill. She has a front row seat at what's happening in Houston and the Houston housing market. So whether you're a buyer, seller, or simply just keeping an eye on the market, you're going to want to listen in. Welcome to the show, Theresa.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Christina.
Absolutely. Well, as chair, again, you have a seat at the table. You're hearing everything from the front row. What are you seeing in the Houston housing market right now as we start to get a little deeper into 2026?
Yes. So I think we're seeing a healthier, more balanced market. We started out the year pretty strong with more inventory, a little bit more time on the market, but still a steady demand. So our
Mm,
inventory was up slightly. We're at right at about 34,500 active listings, and about 5.7 months of inventory. And that was as of January 2026. Days on the market rose to about 66 days. So again, just, a little bit more time on the market.
yeah, but not too significant, I think, of an increase if you really break it down
Yeah,
from maybe the hottest times, if you will, on the market. So
right. And
that's,
the buyer's
yeah,
interest is still there too, because pending sales did rise by about
yeah.
8.5% year over year.
Okay, well, great. So, speaking of buyers, what should they realistically expect this year in terms of pricing, competition with other buyers, and interest rates?
Yeah, so the median single family price was it was down very, very slightly. So it's kind of, stayed steady. I think that as far as the competition for buyers, there's less of that panic buying and more, thoughtful consideration.
Mhm,
It's common to see, inspections with, maybe after inspections you have concessions or, a little bit more negotiating power.
mhm,
In interest rates, they are down a bit. I would say they're lower. Maybe not, as low as we'd like them to be, but they've definitely improved.
mhm,
And I think the predictions are saying that it'll be nice if we could get down in those 5%, maybe high 5%. We will have to wait and see. I do
mhm,
think that it's a mindset for buyers, being under that 6%.
mhm.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe right around the holidays, it actually went down to that 5.9. And I think it made some buyers kind of make that move because psychologically it was under 6%.
Yeah, yeah, very understandable. Well, let's switch the side to sellers. So, is 2026 shaping up to be a strong year to list a home? And what factors should sellers consider?
Yeah, so I think with sellers, it's a lot about pricing it right. It's all
Mhm,
about the pricing strategy, and I think sellers need to realize that they're no longer just the only option. As we have been in past years. As I said before, we have rising inventory, and I think the buyers are just comparing a little bit harder.
mhm.
Now. So I think that the condition of your home and the preparation of your home is really key.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So it sounds like we are seeing a little more balance between buyers and sellers, as you said at the top of the show. Does one side still have an advantage, though? Do you think?
I think it's more almost more situational now, with price, condition, and of course location. I think that that's all going to factor in. And
Mm,
again, the sellers are going to have to kind of have a reality check about being, well priced and have their homes well prepped. And
mm.
then, the buyers, on the other side, that they have that inventory growth and the longer days on market. And that's kind of classic signs that we are moving towards the more balanced market.
Very good. Well, if you are tuned in for the live viewing of this show and you have questions for Teresa, type those in, and we'll get to as many of those as we can. Teresa, I love to highlight mistakes, not just to highlight negativity, but so that we can learn from them. So, what are some of the biggest mistakes that buyers are making right now?
Uh, Maybe ignoring that total monthly cost budget.
Mm,
Um, we always talk about PITI, which is your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. But as we know, interest rates matter a lot more now, as well as insurance. So I think buyers need to take everything into account for that total monthly budget. They also need to assume that not every home is going to be discounted, if you will. So they just need to be aware. And then also, I think strategically doing their inspections. I think sometimes when we are purchasing a resale home, we do need to remember that it is a resale home and not a new construction. So just be strategic in what you ask for with repairs.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Going back to the interest rates that you were talking about just a little while ago, I've seen some different numbers as of late, maybe a lot of them last year actually, that were talking about the interest rate. And, if you had bought a home in 2022, this is the price you would have lived with. If you would have bought it in 2025, this is the price you would have lived with. And with the home pricing going up, but the interest rates kind of staying the same, it's almost like it's never really the wrong time to buy, is kind of the message I was getting. Is that true?
Yeah. I think that, and it's going to depend on, sometimes it's just a lifestyle decision that needs to be made. If you are relocating or you're having another child and, you've outgrown your home. So there are those times when, it's just going to be a lifestyle decision. But yes, I think that, we definitely need to be aware of the interest rates and how that equates to your monthly payment for sure.
Absolutely. Let's actually, I have a question that just came in from Kelly. She's asking from the perspective of a listing agent. She said, are there any recommendations for listing agents as far as timing, staging, listing photos, and how do you feel about pre-listing inspections?
So I think pre-listing inspections, they have some good points and bad points, right?
Yeah.
It especially if you're maybe uncertain about some things. I'm just going to throw something out there. Maybe you have a stucco home and you're not sure about about that stucco. Maybe you haven't done your yearly maintenance. A pre-inspection can give you some insight as to what probably is more than likely going to have to be repaired. But then again, you don't want to maybe do something too far ahead of time and then have it backfire on you a little bit. So
Yeah.
it's a very fine line. But I will say that's why you should speak to a realtor to get some sound advice about that.
Absolutely. And you mentioned one thing too, that yearly maintenance or monthly maintenance, those things that, we know we need to get to it. I know I need to clean that filter or whatever the case is. I know I need to get the air conditioning looked at, getting in the habit of doing those. So when you are ready to sell, those aren't things that are just kind of hanging over your head. So great advice there. Thank you so much. So going back to the mistakes, we talked about mistakes for buyers. What about mistakes for sellers?
So I think that they need to probably not look at last year's headlines, right? Because it's overpricing right now is probably not the best idea. I do believe, I'm going to say it again, I think you do need a pricing strategy because pricing is everything. So just be realistic about that. Also, too, do not skip that prep. We just talked about maintenance. If you need to do painting, if you need to do staging, if you need to do some minor repairs, go ahead and do that. I think buyers are probably a little more apt to have maybe more of a turnkey property in many cases.
Okay. So you just mentioned work with a realtor. How important is it exactly to work with a realtor in today's market, especially with a lot of recent changes in contracts and in the practice of real estate?
Absolutely, yes. It's
Hmm.
in my opinion, it's absolutely critical. You need someone with skills for strategy, negotiations, and compliance. And you are
Hmm.
correct. We have had many contract changes. Some is just changed as of January 1st. We've also been told that there are new changes coming on. So as
Hmm.
realtors, we always have to keep on top of that. So it's critical that you do hire a realtor that is skilled in all of those things.
Hmm.
I very highly recommend using a realtor in any real estate transaction.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about first time buyers for a second. What should first time buyers really focus on even before starting their home search? We know we like to go on HAR.com and start the window shopping and favoriting properties, hitting that little heart button. But what should we be doing before we seriously start looking for a home?
Yeah. So again, back to a monthly budget.
Hmm.
I think you need to, know how much you can spend. There's nothing worse than shopping for a home that you think is going to be the perfect home for you, and then you find out it's out of your price range.
Yeah.
Um, Also to your credit.
Hmm.
Let's take a look at your credit, make sure you are credit worthy, and if not,
Hmm.
work on that first. Getting your credit rating up a little bit.
Hmm.
I also think you need to just have your kind of wish list.
Hmm.
um, these are the absolute things that I absolutely need in my home. These are my wants, but maybe I can do without this one and that one, and just kind of have a priority list.
All right, that makes so much sense. You've mentioned this kind of in a roundabout way a couple times, but I think it's so worth repeating and highlighting for a second. You keep talking about the monthly budget. I think buyers, in particular first-time buyers, get stuck on that sticker price, right? What's the price of the home? But the monthly budget that you're going to live with is what you're going to be faced with every month, right? So working with a realtor, making sure you're factoring in all of the additional pricing, insurance, all that stuff. That's so important. So thank you for mentioning it like that, Teresa, because I think that sometimes we get stuck on that one big number.
Yes, for sure. I agree.
Yeah. So what advice would you give homeowners who are unsure whether they want to sell right now or not? Maybe they're kind of sitting on the fence still.
Um, yeah, I mean, again, it could be a lifestyle decision, that just has to be
Hmm.
made. But I do think that you kind of have to do the math. What's your current rate? What's the equity you have in your home? What are your net proceeds? What is that likely to look at? Um, and then, of course, what your payment would be, in a new home.
Hmm.
So it's a lot of things to factor in. Again, get with a realtor, that can kind of guide you through this. And then, of course, the marketability, of your home. Again, I believe that kind of a turnkey home is going to be the most desirable.
Hmm.
Uh, so, we need to be sure that you're doing it well.
Yeah. Yeah. So when we talk about the market, or we talked about the market at the very beginning, you're saying overall balanced market. Are there any particular neighborhoods or even price points in Houston and surrounding areas that show kind of notable trends that you think are worth mentioning?
Yeah. So as far as price points, that we call it a sweet spot between 250 and 500.
Hmm.
Those kind of slowed year after year, which was like I said, sometimes that's considered your sweet spot. So it was
Hmm.
interesting to see that it did slow January year over year. The luxury market was kind of the standout. Sales were up almost 16%, about 15.5%. year over year in January. And to me, that just shows, that the economy in Houston is still strong. We definitely still have those high end buyers.
Yeah, very good. Any particular neighborhoods, or is it kind of just widespread across the Houston and surrounding areas where we're seeing kind of those steady sales?
Yeah, I think that, again, I say this all the time, but we are just hyper local. So it is very much, according to location.
Mhm,
We do see, though, kind of HAR is so good about putting out different market reports and monthly reports. But I love the report that y'all do about the hottest communities. And those seem to be in the outlying areas,
mhm,
Waller, Waller County, Fulshire,
mhm,
going out towards Baytown, Mount Ball, Bellevue.
mhm,
All those areas, a lot of them have new construction, which is desirable for a number of reasons. The
mhm.
price point, the incentives that some of the builders are able to give, maybe buying down interest rates or giving appliances. So a lot of the outlining areas are really having strong sales.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Well, thank you so much for that. Teresa, well, you've mentioned preparation a couple times, but maybe let's just double down on it. What role does preparation play for both buyers and sellers this year?
Yeah, so I think buyers need to be prepared just to, when they're making offers, make them as clean as possible, as
Mhm,
attractive as possible. Maybe it could be that maybe you get faster decisions, with the other party. So just be cognizant of that. And I think that sellers, they're going to win again by having that priced right and having the
mhm.
home ready. And I know I've said that a number of times, but that's just so critical for sellers right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, working with a realtor to make sure it is priced right. So important. Well, do you have any other pieces of advice? You've given a lot of great advice today already. So thank you for that, Teresa. Is there any additional advice that you'd give to anyone planning to make a move this year?
I think know your numbers, know your budget, know your price point, know your non-negotiables. What's what's going to work for you and what is not
Mhm.
going to work for you. And again, work with a pro. Work with someone that knows that market area, knows someone that, if you're a first time home buyer, that's going to guide you through every step. Um, Again, work with a realtor. That's probably the best advice I can give.
Well, Teresa, thank you so much for sharing your insight and perspective with us today. For anyone tuned in who's thinking about buying or selling in 2026, we hope this conversation gave you clarity and confidence as you plan your next steps. Preparation and right guidance can make all the difference, as Teresa shared with us. So thank you for that, Teresa.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. So, again, for those of you watching, if you found this helpful, share this with someone who might be considering making a move this year. And be sure to follow HAR on Facebook and YouTube for future community conversations. Again, we're here every month having the conversations that matter most to Houstonians. Next month, we will be joined by Skip Richter of Garden Line. He's going to help us repair our lawns from those winter months and our gardens and get them ready for spring and the hot summer months that unfortunately we all know are ahead. So be sure to tune in next month. Have a good one. Bye bye.